This one's wife. She's on a witch hunt. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. I know that there are a number of you that refer to this one's wife as a witch as a consequence of her behaviour. Might it have been the case that on her cookery show in the rented kitchen she was engaging in some potion making, a bit of hubble-bubble, toil and trouble? Of course not. She doesn't do any proper cooking, remember? Anyway, there is a report which allows me to look at another aspect of the behaviour of the narcissist, and it comes courtesy of Radar Online, that explains this one's wife accused of going from diva duchess to paranoid prima donna as she launches witch hunt for whoever set her up to fail, even though they don't exist. The article by Daniel Gura tells us a paranoid this one's wife is desperately trying to blame a crazy conspiracy theory for all of her recent personal and professional setbacks. RadarOnline.com can confirm. Pausing there. You can be paranoid without being a narcissist. As the saying goes, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you. Paranoia plays a part in the world of the narcissist. Why? Because it drives the narcissist to seek the prime aims. By being concerned that somebody's talking about the narcissist and thus it potentially is a threat to control, then in the circumstances, this drives the narcissist to take action against that individual to get that control and also for the purposes of potentially drawing fuel from them. I remember one instance of the paranoia of the narcissist in relation to a client that I was advising. He had recently paid for a nose job for his narcissist wife, and she'd had this done. He admitted that her nose was a little on the large side and she was happy with the results. He didn't have a problem with paying for her. He recounted how he was outside cleaning the alloys on his motor vehicle when his parents arrived for a visit, and he greeted them and explained that his wife and their grandchildren were inside, so they should go in ahead. He was finishing off, polishing the alloys, and he'd be with them shortly. Later, his wife accused him of saying, "You told your parents about my nose job, didn't you, when they first arrived?" He said to me, "HG, she's crazy. Why would the first thing that would go through my head would be to tell my parents about her nose job rather than say, 'Hello, how are you? Have you had a good journey?' Why would I want to disclose them to them?" And I explained this is the paranoia of the narcissist, that the narcissism feeds into the narcissist's mind the idea that people are talking about them, that people are trying to do them down, that people are briefing against them, that people are saying things about the narcissist which are unpleasant, because such paranoid thoughts heighten the necessity of the narcissist to nullify perceived threats to control and to continue to assert control. It is the mechanism that drives the narcissist to behave that way, for if the narcissist did not have such a mechanism, they wouldn't pursue the prime aims anywhere near as effectively. Thus, you will find varying degrees of paranoia operating in relation to the narcissist, and this one's wife is no different. With Radar Online also suggesting that she's trying to blame a crazy conspiracy theory for all of her recent personal and professional setbacks, that would be entirely accurate, because after all, she has been suffering repeated setbacks, and we also know, as a consequence of my work, that it's never the narcissist's fault. It can't be that she's boring, it can't be that she's unpopular, it can't be that she's unimaginative, it can't be because she's rubbish in the kitchen. It must be that there are mysterious forces out there that has caused all news outlets and newspaper editors to come together in a summit meeting and decide, right, ladies and gentlemen, we're all going to shit on this programme and write awful reviews. All agreed? Say aye. Aye. Of course that has never happened, and of course it never will happen. But in the crazy mind of this one's wife, driven by her paranoia, when it's a choice between this show's rubbish because of you, or this show's rubbish because it's being panned, her narcissism goes to the latter. This is because her narcissism is set to a default position that it is never her fault. The article continues by explaining the Duchess of Sussex seems to be falling to the pressures of launching a new business, new Netflix program, and new lifestyle. Actually, it isn't her falling to any of those pressures, it is her narcissism. What is happening is, because the show isn't very good, and this means that a number of objective critics have stated as such, this is problematic for her because it amounts to repeated and sustained threats to her control. She doesn't think, yeah, it wasn't very good, was it? It was boring, it was unimaginative, I was just rearranging food on plates, no wonder they've panned it. Her narcissism has to leap to her defense and tell her, you were great. Therefore, if they're criticizing your program, it could only be as a consequence of there being a conspiracy to try and bring you down. After all, that seems entirely logical, doesn't it? The show is already being bashed by critics who are quick to compare it to another just-released lifestyle program with a similar theme, Pamela Anderson's new Amazon Prime series, Pamela's Cooking with Love. Reviews have already compared the show's similar names and aesthetics, with some fans calling them interchangeable. It all seems to be taking a toll on the former Suits star. As one insider told Women's Day, everyone seems against her right now, and she's paranoid there's a concerted effort to make sure she flops. Now, it isn't the case that everybody is against her. It's simply the case that this one's wife's narcissism interprets legitimate constructive criticism of her show as meaning you're against me. Because remember, with this one's wife, there are no shades of grey. She thinks in black and white. Praise me, you're with me, you're painted white. Criticise me, no matter how legitimate or constructive, you're painted black because you're against me. That is how the mind of the narcissist works. Other sources told RadarOnline.com the truth is much simpler. There is no one setting her up. Her content is just crap. She's trying to deflect blame for putting out a poor product. Indeed, she is. But she doesn't realise that that's what she's doing. She doesn't recognise that she's deflecting. She's doing it because she genuinely believes that there is people briefing against her. The quote states she doesn't trust anyone these days, even her handlers at Netflix. This is driven by her paranoia. The negative reviews come on the heels of her lifestyle brand setbacks. As RadarOnline.com reported, the royal was rejected from using her original name, American Riviera Orchard, due to copyright issues. So she has changed the name of her brand to As Ever, which only opened her up to new copyright violation allegations. The trademark issues were turning into a costly legal nightmare, according to insiders. This one's wife can puff over her reasons for changing the name, but word is she had no choice. Accordingly, this one's wife has embarked on a witch hunt to find out who it is that has set her up to fail. This is because her narcissism is telling her somebody is causing this all to happen. They're briefing against you. They're making a concerted effort. It's probably Donald Trump in a conference call with King Charles III and Prince William. Add in Trevor probably. Trevor Engelson's probably in on this conference call as well as the man in the moon. They're all plotting because they're all misogynistic haters and colonial racists. That may sound ridiculous, but believe me, those are the lengths that the narcissism will go to convince a narcissist such as this one's wife that she's in the right and everybody else is in the wrong. And as Radar Online quite aptly put, she's searching for someone that doesn't exist. Because as you know, the only person that she needs to look at to find out why she's failing is that person that's in the mirror. Some years ago, I conducted a series about the top 20 people that this one's wife needed to watch out for that would cause a problem for her. And those of you who've watched that series will recall that she was at number 1. She is her own worst enemy. She is her own worst enemy because whilst her narcissism has managed to get her to this elevated position without mint, it can't keep her there because she lacks the talent and charisma. Her need for control in the moment leads to repeated schoolgirl collateral consequences. She has nothing to offer, and because she's so overexposed, the media saturation is so complete that we see time and time again the missteps, the fuck-ups, and the faux pas. This results in her demonstrating what she truly is. And more people see this, more and more people lose interest or even turn against her. And yet, as more people criticize, as more people are able to see through her, as more people realize that she's a talentless, beige non-entity, her narcissism keeps telling her, you're not the problem, they are. They're out to get you. You need to find out who it is. Find out who has set you up to fail. And it'll just send her on a goose chase. Because this one's wife is the problem. But once again, this article touches on something which is demonstrative of her narcissism, which is at the root of everything associated with this one's wife. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.